Welcome, everyone, to Influential Leadership Tips. My name's Dave Miller.
And I'm John Hadley. And Dave, I was reading an interview with John Zimmer, the president of Lyft, and he said something that really resonated with me. He was asked about his leadership style, and he said that the most important thing I've found is to know your weaknesses and hire people better than you.
Mm.
This takes a certain amount of confidence. I remember hiring folks with way more experience than me and feeling very unsure of my ability to lead them. The answer is to lead with values and vision. And I think back over my career, and there have been a few times where I've hired someone who I felt was a lot better than me in certain areas. And it is sometimes a difficult decision to say, oh, this person might be really better than me. Am I hiring someone who's going to be a threat to my position down the road? But it's the wrong way to look at it, because the more you can fill your team with people who fill in the gaps, who are stronger than you in certain areas, you can really add to what you combined bring to the table. I remember in particular, there was one person he was a principal at Milliman. He had decided that he was tired of the consulting lifestyle. He'd taken a year sabbatical, and he'd done a lot of work for me as a consultant. And then when he came back from the sabbatical, we ended up hiring him. And at the time, I'm like, John could do my job. He knows this really well. He's a great disability actuary, which was our primary line. But I liked him a lot. I trusted him. We hired him just a notch below me, and he turned out to be terrific and a terrific supporter. He actually only stayed with us for, it wasn't quite 2 years. But at the time, my boss and I sat down and we said, we don't care if he's only with us for 2 years, because he will add so much value. And he did. And years later, people still remembered him and remembered what a great contribution he made to our operation during the time he was there. So it can be really powerful it's like something you've said before about vulnerability. It's really powerful to be vulnerable enough to say, here's this person I could hire, this skill I could bring in, where maybe it's a weakness of mine, and make the whole operation better instead of seeing it as a threat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's two things. One is, are you hiring to complement things? Like you have certain strengths as a leader, and are you hiring people around that can complement that can fill in the gaps?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, though, the more threatening one is when someone is just better than you all across the board. And but you see this in sports and things like that, and
Mm-hmm.
and in companies where a leader that's really secure in themselves, what they want is, I want you to aspire to your greatness, even if you go by, I mean, maybe I work for you someday.
Mm-hmm.
How cool a leader is that? Someone that has the humility and the security in themselves to be able to do that, and really serve the other person. It's real servant leadership.
Yeah. And how is that person perceived by the company? I mean, you are doing a great service for your organization by being willing to bring that person in. In fact, one of the other times that I hired someone like this, he had gotten his FSA 1 year prior to me. He had incredible strength in universal life, and we were getting into that line. I didn't have that much exposure to universal life up until then. And what ended up happening a year and a half, 2 years down the road, was we actually split the department, and he took a piece. But in return, my boss gave me a whole new operation as well. So it actually was a win-win for both of us. And and a few years later, he was now one of our line of business managers running the employee benefits operation, and I now was in charge of the entire actuarial operation. So in the long run, it helped both of our careers very much. And he was, I would say, one of the best people we ever brought into the company.
Yeah, and it really comes down to having an abundance mentality versus a scarcity mentality. I mean, if I make the team better and there's more goodness on our team, more skill on our team, and I'm doing a good job still, it's not like I'm doing a shabby job as a leader. The company's not going to get rid of good people, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to find a way to use good people. So I think, we tend to think, well, it's him or me, her or me,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's limiting.
It is. So I guess my homework for everyone would be, look at your organization, think very carefully about what are the weaknesses in myself, what are the weaknesses in my operation, and what can I do to bring in people who have those strengths and really fill those gaps actively. Not worry about, am I bringing someone in who might be better than me in some ways. Actually embrace that idea and say, that is what I should be trying to do in hiring, because that's what's going to make us as an operation so much more effective.
Absolutely. Great tip, John.
So that's what I wanted to share this week.
And until next week, be influential.